And we are at the top of the hour now, so I'll go ahead and get started. We'll probably have more join, but want to be respectful of your time tonight or this afternoon. Thank you so much for taking the time to log into Zoom and join us for our opportunities in HIT session. We partner with the Northeast Florida Health Information Management Association to offer these during the fall and spring semesters. And essentially, it's the stories of local health information management and health information technology professionals and their careers, sharing their career path, and then answering any questions that you have. It's also a community service that we provide. By partnering with the regional association, we can offer that one CEU free of charge to those that need that credit to maintain their credential. So typically, we've been offering these for 2 years now, and full transparency, I was running late on lining up speakers, and I thought, I've been in the industry for a pretty long time and have yet to share my story. So I will be your speaker today, and I'm thrilled just to get to share with you a little bit about my journey. And it's been a profession that's been really good to me and has been a good fit, and I've enjoyed it. So a bit about me. I am the program director and instructor in the Health Information Technology program at St. John's River State College. I'm also an instructor of healthcare administration with the Mayo Clinic College of Medicine, where I also serve on the IT team as a senior business relationship manager that's specifically dedicated to the Florida campus. In addition, I'm president-elect of the Northeast Florida Health Information Management Association. I have multiple volunteer engagements that I'm currently working in with, but a couple of them here with the professional development team with HIMSS, which is super fun to be a part of, and then the technology committee with the Business Relationship Management Institute. So encourage you to volunteer and certainly expand your network that way and give back. I've been in health information management and health information technology for 32 years now, so quite a while, and for the past decade have been involved in education. And I am an educator at heart, so really love working with students. A bit about my education. My undergraduate degree was in leadership studies, went to Lee University in Cleveland, Tennessee. I hold dual graduate degrees in health informatics and information management, as well as IT leadership. Got those from the College of St. Scholastica in Duluth, Minnesota, and hold the Doctorate of Education in Transformational Leadership from Concordia University, Portland. As far as credentials go, so I truly am not a collector of credentials. This is not a hobby of mine, but my credentials really represent my career path. So my roots in health information management go super deep. So I started with that RHIA, the Registered Health Information Administrator from the American Health Information Management Association. As my career progressed, I then found myself more in the IT space, and went on again with AHIMA to get my certified healthcare technology specialist implementation manager certification. And that one has since been sunsetted, but did acquire that credential. And again, in the IT space, we reached a point where within my organization, we were transforming the IT organization to an IT service management sort of approach to doing IT. So got the ITIL Foundation certificate. That's the IT Infrastructure Library is what that stands for, and IT Service Management, so that I could serve in that role effectively. And let's see, again, IT specific, I did the Certified Professional in Healthcare Information and Management Systems with HIMSS. And when I transitioned into teaching, honestly, I feel like I should go back and apologize to my first few cohorts of students before I got actually training and being an educator, because I was a professional, right? I had all of this information specific to health information management and health IT. But there's more to educating than simply having a professional background. So once one of the colleges that I was adjuncting for offered for me to work with the Association of College and University Educators to be certified as an effective college instruction, and learned so much going through that process, and how to be an effective educator. Additionally, within the organization I've worked at, there was a need for not only technical training, but productivity training. So how to get things done and be efficient. And they were needing more trainers. So I had the opportunity to become a certified trainer through Vital Smarts in getting things done courses, as well as the Power of Habit courses. So certified to teach both of those, which are really fun workshops to host. And more recently, in the past year, actually in February, received my or worked towards getting the business relationship management professional certification from the BRM Institute, and I'm currently working on my certified business relationship manager. I've finished the training for it. I've got this huge binder that I'm working through to study for the exam that I'm taking the first week of November. So each of my credentials is associated with a job, and most of them I acquired preparing for an interview. So I wanted to work in health information management, so I got credentialed to be, so I'd be the best candidate. And whenever I decided to transition to the IT space, I got credentialed. And more recently, when I was looking at the business relationship management role, again, I sat for the credential even before I got the job, when I was preparing for the interview, to really helped me speak intelligently to industry standards, and it helped because I got the job. So looking at my career path, really the first 20 years were in health information management. So I started out fresh out of high school. I had a friend who was working in the cafe, working in the cafeteria at Mayo Clinic, and said it was an amazing place to work and I should apply. So I did. And I walked into the human resources department and filled out an application, and they were not hiring in the cafeteria, but they had a position open in medical records as a file clerk. And I had no idea what that meant, but submitted my application, and as fate would have it, I feel super fortunate that they hired me. And I had no clue at the time that it was really going to launch me into an amazing career with a world-class organization. It was just like I hit the lottery and didn't know. So over that 20-year time frame, I really did pretty much everything that you can do in a traditional medical records department. So started out as a file clerk, and this was in the days of paper, right? So over that 20-year period, I got to see the transition and be a part of that transition from paper records to the electronic world and the implementation of electronic health records. Again, started out on the night shift as a file clerk, just making rounds in the hospital and picking up the paper charts and pulling records whenever patients came into the emergency room or were admitted, and pulled records for physicians when they came in to sign off on their documentation. From that, I went on and was a medical transcriptionist for a while. I did outpatient surgery coding for about 6 months and realized that was not my passion, that I was not going to be a coder for long. I could go on and on about there were multiple roles. I listed a few of them here. I actually stepped outside of HIM for about 5 years and worked in the medical secretary float pool. So at Mayo, we had just over 50 different specialties in the clinic space, and I wanted to get exposure and learn about all of those areas, and I did that. I purposefully stayed in the float pool for 5 years and didn't accept a permanent assignment so that I could spend time and float to every area. And that really benefited me later on when I transitioned to supporting the clinical systems and IT, because I had actually worked in those areas and knew kind of the uniqueness of their needs. And so it was invaluable education. Did go back to HIM and served as a team lead. So I was on the leadership team there. And also moved into more of a technical role within the HIMSS department as a HIMSS systems analyst, which was really dedicated to the integrity of the electronic health record. And I could go into so much more on that position. And when we get to the Q&A session, if you have questions about any of these roles, feel free to let me know. So in 2009, I was actually invited to apply for a job in the information technology department. So that was an IT programmer analyst role, and it was supporting the Cerner system, so the electronic health record. And spent some time doing that, and then was promoted to the next level, so an intermediate programmer analyst, and it really thrived in that role, partnering with our clinical teams to ensure that our electronic health record was being optimized and adding value in their areas. Super rewarding, really enjoyed that. In 2000, I want to say 11 or 12, again, our IT organization was going through some transformation and consolidating. So previously, all the Mayo Clinic sites had, we have sites in Florida and Arizona and Minnesota and throughout Wisconsin, and all the sites had their own IT department and their own leadership, their own applications, their own processes and standards up until around the 2012 timeframe. And when we became one and we started standardizing, there was an opportunity to move into a change management role, which I honestly hesitated. It was an amazing promotion, a wonderful opportunity. I hesitated to apply for it because it was going to completely take me away from my favorite part of my job, which was working with the clinical practice, and make me 100% IT facing. But I'm always up for a new challenge, and decided to explore this opportunity, and did get the role, and am super glad I did, because it was almost like repeating my former float pool exercise. So when I was in the float pool and I floated to every area of the clinical practice and really got to understand their needs and how they worked. As a change manager, I got to intimately know every area of IT, working with the release managers, and truly understand what it takes to run an enterprise IT organization. So again, that was really educational, and a very rewarding role, and thoroughly enjoyed it, and honestly thought that I would retire doing that. It was a great job. And then there was an opportunity um, to work to launch an internal IT university. So, um, and like I said, I'm an educator at heart, love education. So I just had to do it, and that was really fun. And again, I thought, I'm going to retire doing this. I'm living my dream. This is so fun. And then earlier this year, I did that for about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And then earlier this year, I had actually been out on medical leave. And the day that I returned from medical leave, there was a meeting on my calendar that had the CIO and one of our other administrators on it. And I had no clue what it was about. But I joined just to make sure it wasn't something I needed to be a part of. And they were introducing new roles within the organization around business relationship management. And as they talked about these business relationship manager roles within the IT space, I just got excited, because it seemed like the culmination of everything I had done to this point in my career. It was really straddling that fence between IT and the rest of the organization, and would once again get me partnering with the clinical practice and ensuring that IT was adding value through the applications and the systems and solutions. And so did put my name in the hat for that, and transitioned to that business relationship manager role back in April, I guess, about 6 or so months ago. So, so that brings us to what we're here to talk about today. The IT Senior Business Relationship Manager role is my current role, and so that's the job I'm going to tell you about today. Not a traditional health information management role, although it is a health IT role, but everything that an HIM professional, the skill set that an HIM professional has, is uniquely qualified for this role. It's all about partnering with the business, the practice, the administrative teams, and ensuring that IT is adding value. And I've got like a full job description here, and I won't read all of it to you, but I'm having the opportunity to engage and be a part of just super exciting initiatives. The Mayo Clinic here in Florida, which I'm specifically dedicated to the Florida campus. We have other business relationship managers who are dedicated to other campuses or even other specialties that I sometimes partner with. But in Florida specifically, we have really exciting work going on right now around the radiation oncology space. We're bringing carbon particle proton therapy to North America for the very first time. So being able to be at the table and ensure that teams have what they need in order to make this amazing work that they're doing happen is just really rewarding. It's and it's exciting, and I'm just perpetually inspired to be working with the most brilliant minds in the world. Thoroughly enjoying it. So the requirements of the role are a bachelor's degree. So ideally in some sort of computer science, management of information systems, an HIM degree would qualify. Um, some business administration or a related field. And they also look for 5 years of leadership experience of some kind, as well as project management experience, which I'm not a PMP, but over the course of my career, I've certainly played a part in leading initiatives and seeing projects through to successful completion. So any kind of work like that is good, as well as IT operational management experience. So understanding how IT works, which that change management role did for me. Um, as well as customer domain operational administrative experience. So this is where that health information management experience was valuable, because I understand not only the operational area of health information management, but all the areas that HIM serves, which is the entire organization. And then any other leadership experience that shows you can provide good customer service, which I know we all do. So the qualifications of the role, as the name implies, business relationship management is all about relationships. So it's about relationship building. It's about increasing the satisfaction. Many times IT, okay, I have to tell you guys, I I recently binged Grey's Anatomy for the first time. I'd never watched Grey's Anatomy before. And as one who sat down over, I don't know, a quarter, maybe 3 months to watch 17 seasons, um, I noticed that, one, every time they mentioned the medical records person, they were it was in a very negative way. They were a bother, or they were incompetent, um, or not only the medical records person, but the IT people. So the IT people were, stereotypically nerdy and not relatable. And it's just, I mean, it was comical, but it was also a reflection of the perception that's out there, that that our IT folks are kind of clueless to the needs of the business. And so this role specifically is dedicated to ensuring that our technology teams are meeting the needs of the business and adding value. And I'll go through these. So it's relationship building. I get to partner with the administrative team at the Florida campus as well. So I partner with the administrative team, but I also have key areas that that are sort of areas of focus. So while I'm dedicated to the entire campus, our transplant, neurosurgery, and oncology areas are kind of key areas of focus where I partner with them, probably more than some of the others. So building those trusting relationships and establishing that credibility that they can count on IT to not only listen to them, but to deliver and optimize those systems to actually meet their needs and help them to be efficient and effective and actually do their jobs, not just well, but exceedingly well. And we're a world-class organization. We've got to be exceptional. And let's see, have that, that business area acumen to understand it, to speak the language of both IT and the business and be that translator, to engage in strategic thinking and planning, to sit down with the business partners and understand the vision for the future and help map out a plan to get there. and keep our IT teams informed so that they can start to plan as well, and have that as a part of their strategic roadmap to meet those needs. Let's see. Again, understanding and integrating those strategies and trends and technology to deliver value, staying abreast of what the latest trends are so that when I'm at the table, I can speak to them and offer insights. Negotiating conflict and being a problem solver when needed. There's a lot of communication, so being an effective communicator, and also navigating that customer governance and approval process within IT. So for most, IT is like this mysterious realm. They have no idea what happens behind the IT doors, physically or virtually. And so being that one who can navigate that for them so that they don't need to. And also being comfortable working independently. So there's really no one watching over my shoulder. I have a lot of autonomy. And also, again, I spoke to it, but the communications, assisting our executive leadership team with communications to the practice and to our administrative leaders so that they know whenever there's going to be an outage and they can communicate it to the appropriate folks so that they can be prepared. So looking at the benefits of this role, as I mentioned on the previous slide, a lot of autonomy. So there is a lot of freedom and control over my work schedule and location. It's super rewarding, which I also mentioned, being able to partner with the clinical practice and actually see results happen. It's also exciting being part of new innovative initiatives like the proton therapy that we're bringing to the continent for the first time. And it's inspiring. Like I said, I am perpetually inspired, just collaborating with the most brilliant minds in the world and having a seat at that table. And purposeful. So being able to contribute to work that is truly making a positive difference in the world. And I have to pause here and just let you know that it has purpose for me on a crazy deep level. So I've worked for Mayo Clinic for a long time. And I tell people that for many, many years, I made a living at Mayo Clinic. And this past year, actually a year ago last week was my 1-year anniversary. They literally became the reason I'm still living. So I kind of unexpectedly had to have brain surgery, which, you know, when I do something, I go big. It's not going to be a small surgery. But it was really scary, and they saw me through it. And so whenever I say I care about the practice, it's an understatement, because they're literally the reason that I'm still here, and I owe them my life. So to say it has purpose is not a small thing. Challenges of the role would include ambiguity. So have to be comfortable navigating the unknown. A lot of times I'm really in uncharted territory and there's nobody to go to ask questions. So navigating ambiguity is probably the #1 challenge. Also persuasiveness, so which isn't kind of naturally one of my own strengths. You have to be able to lead without authority in this role. I personally don't have any direct reports, so no one actually reports. I'm nobody's boss, but I lead, and leading without authority is probably more challenging than leading when you have direct reports who have to answer to you. And then political savviness. So being able to diplomatically maneuver through what can sometimes be politically charged environments. So these are probably the biggest challenges of the role. Recommendations I would have for those who might be interested in pursuing a path like this would be to demonstrate a strong work ethic. I mean, from the very beginning of your career, so when I first applied at Mayo Clinic, my only work history was at a daycare center. I had worked at a daycare center for 2 years when I was in high school, and my boss at Mayo who hired me flat out told me that normally they wouldn't have hired someone like me fresh out of high school with absolutely no experience in healthcare or health information. She said, but your manager at the daycare gave you such a glowing review that we decided to take a chance. So it was that work ethic that I had at a daycare center that really set the stage and made it possible for me to get a foot in the door in a role that I maybe wasn't qualified for. So and then continuing on, just each role I had, demonstrating that strong work ethic continues to open doors because people see that you're someone who can be counted on, someone who gets things done, someone who cares about the work and that they can trust. Also, stay open to new opportunities. So I couldn't have created this career path if I'd tried. I had no idea that the role I currently have even existed until about 6 months ago. So simply staying open to new opportunities. My transition from health information management to health information technology within the IT realm was actually a result of a colleague going on maternity leave. So she went on maternity leave. I was asked if I would cover for her while she was on maternity leave, which essentially doubled my work. I still had to do my job while covering for her. And it was something that I easily could have said no to because who wants to do double the work for the same pay, right? But it was because I covered for this individual. In her role, she had a lot of exposure to the folks in the IT space, and I made those connections and was able to then transition to a role that was really rewarding within IT because of that volunteering to cover for her for a few months. So stay open to new opportunities. Advance your education. That's another thing. I know many of you are working on your associate's degree, and consider it a foundation. It's a foundation to build upon. I wouldn't stop there. I would at least get a bachelor's degree, and a master's degree would set you up even further to excel if you're wanting to kind of advance your career. And be strategic in obtaining those certifications. Like I said, each one of mine was really associated with a role that I found interesting and I wanted to prepare for. So consider where you want to go and then pursue those certifications. The certification I have right now, the Business Relationship Management Professional, any of you could prepare for and take. It really doesn't have an education requirement around it. It's simply completing a set of training materials and then passing an exam. And be persistent. So don't give up. I think my grandfather set an amazing example for me. So I grew up in Jacksonville, and he worked for JEA. He was an electrician, and he always told me that he had formerly been a railroad man, so he worked on the railroads, and he wanted a job where he didn't have to move, every time the train tracks moved. And so he was trying to get on a JEA and they didn't hire him. So he applied again and they didn't hire him. And he applied again and they didn't hire him. And it was probably 5 times. And finally, the fifth or sixth time that he applied, it was simply his persistence that they were like, you know what, this guy really wants to work here. And they hired him, and he had an amazing long career and retired from JEA and was super good at what he did. But I think I kind of picked that up, and my own desire to move into the management realm was also a bit of a long journey. So I worked for 20 years before I was in a leadership role, but be persistent. And surround yourself with those who inspire you. They say if you are the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. And I know when I'm working with the brilliant minds at Mayo Clinic, I'm definitely in the right room. So stay mindful of your well-being. I know as I get older, I become more and more aware of this, that my well-being, both physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually, my well-being is very tied and connected to my performance at work and just in life in general. So it's important to take care of yourself and be mindful of that. Volunteer, give back, network. Volunteering is something that any of you could do right now with your regional or state associations, and could go ahead and start building your network and connections. I know that my first job in education was a classmate that I had connected with, and she reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, hey, there's this position. Do you want to apply for it? So it was simply someone I knew, which kind of plays into the next one. Use social media to your advantage. Have a presence on LinkedIn so that folks can connect with you and reach out when there are opportunities. And then publish and speak when you have an opportunity. It really kind of sets the stage and gives you a platform to demonstrate your expertise. Even if you're a student, whenever they have the state conventions, there's typically like a student forum where they invite students to come kind of give their perspectives of their programs. So be open to writing and speaking whenever you have an opportunity to. And on this slide, if you want this slide deck, shoot me an email. I'm happy to send this to you. I really just wanted to list out a host of resources for you that I'd encourage you to explore if you've not already. Of course, AHIMA, our association, and then the Florida Health Information Management Association at the state level. They have tons of resources out there specifically for students. And then of course, our regional association, the Northeast Florida website. It's currently under construction, but our own Katie Reynolds is doing an amazing job, and would encourage you to go out there and explore resources as well. Additionally, there's HIMSS, so kind of like a sister organization, the more of the IT side of things, but go out to HIMSS and explore the resources that they have for you. I'd encourage you, if you're a student, become a student member of HIMSS. HIMSS, unlike AHIMA, all of the HIMSS webinars are free for members. So you can just get so much education through HIMSS as a member. And I think student membership is maybe $30. It's relatively cheap. And then specific to my role, if you were interested in learning more about business relationship management, there is the BRM Institute. Again, lots of resources out there, easy to get certified. I did a search on Indeed, and there are currently over 500,000 roles out there that are open for employment. So, and they're lucrative. You can make a good living as a business relationship manager. AMIA as well, the American Medical Informatics Association. Lots of good information out on their website. It's some of it's even over my head. It's more of the PhD crowd out there, but it's very interesting if you want to go out there and explore their resources. And let's see, if you were interested in IT service management and ITIL certification, you can find more information here. I included PMI, the Project Management Institute, because project management skills are important for really any role. You need to be able to lead projects and see them through to successful completion. So take a look at PMI and explore that. And then Toastmasters. If you really, even good speakers could benefit from joining a Toastmasters group and even perfecting their speaking skills more. So I belong to a virtual Toastmasters group. During the pandemic, they moved over to Zoom, and it's super convenient. So go to Toastmasters and look at the opportunities there. And then finally, our NAFEMA, our Northeast Association, has a YouTube channel that I put down here. Every opportunities and HIT session that we've hosted over the past 2 years is at this channel. So if you wanted to listen to my talk again, or if you want to hear others and explore different opportunities and careers that are available for our skill sets specifically, go out to their YouTube channel and browse that. Also wanted to include a reading list here. So I love to read, and this is sort of my most recent reading list of books that I would highly recommend. They're all just jam-packed with really good information, really practical stuff to help you thrive and be a good leader and be productive and understand health information technology, specifically the Phoenix Project. So again, if you want this full list, you can take a screenshot, or I can send you a slide deck if you'd like it. So that concludes my comments. I'm happy to take any questions. If you were here for CEU credit, shoot me an email at charlenebanta@sjrstate.edu, and I will try to get that to you tomorrow. And at this time, I will open it up for questions.
Dr. B.
Yes.
Question. As you was going through, you said that the associate's degree is the foundation degree.
Yeah.
What plans, if any, does the college has for elevating it to a bachelor's degree?
Excellent question. Thank you for that. So right now, there are none. Our associate's degree program would have to grow. We currently have capacity for 30 students in our first and second year, so 60 students total. And until we reached capacity with our associate degree program, they really won't look at exploring the 4-year, and we're simply not there yet. But I would say that our bachelor's degree in organizational management that SJR State has not only a healthcare track, but also a technology track. I think that they're both excellent for those who are interested in moving on and pursuing a 4-year degree that really complements this one well. Good question. Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
On on one of your lists, you said to publish and speak.
Mhm.
Why is that important in this type of career?
Well, it adds to your resume, so it's sort of another feather in your cap that you've not only established yourself as an expert. So if you're writing about something or you're speaking about something, then you know something about it. So it demonstrates your expertise in a certain topic, and it builds up your resume.
Okay, thank you.
I had a couple questions.
Sure.
One was working from home in the field. Do you see people doing that more, or do you see it getting bigger?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that in my work at Mayo Clinic, my role specifically is supposed to be 25% on campus. So it's expected that 25% of my time I would be on campus face to face with those I serve. In the current environment with COVID, I'm 100% remote, and there's really there are no plans at this point for allied health staff like myself to return to campus. At this point, it's only those who are involved in direct patient care who are on campus. So I don't have an answer for when that will change. But there are certainly lots of opportunities to every job that I've had, gosh, since 2012, since I took the change manager role. So almost a decade. Every job I've had for the past 10 years almost has been 100% remote until this current job, which technically would be 25% on campus.
Okay. Also, I wanted to know how the competition is in the field for a new grad, or how you think it is.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I know that, at least speaking of my new grads, we've had 100% placement. So they've not had any barriers to employment.
Okay, and the last thing I was wondering is transitioning from HIM to IT and back and forth. It seems like people do that a lot in the field. Is that normal? A normal thing?
Yeah, it depends on your goals and what you're interested in. IT is certainly the more technical space. It's also more lucrative. So if you wanted a higher pay ceiling on the IT side of things, you can earn more.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for asking. I see a few questions in the chat. Let's see. Kelly, would you mind putting that list back up so I could take a picture? Yes. The reading list? Or did you want the list of websites? We go back to the websites as well. Okay, perfect. So Melissa asks, have you overcome your challenges? Good question. So you're referring to the challenges of the role, the ambiguity, the persuasiveness, and the political savviness, I presume. Yes. I will say I'm continually overcoming the challenges. You know, when something isn't your natural strength, it's something that, at least for me, I have to continually work on. Persuasiveness just isn't isn't an 8. It's not an 8 with me. So I have to be really purposeful and work on that. Ambiguity I'm comfortable with, I think, because I've worked long enough in the field and within IT specifically to know that it just comes with the territory. Political savviness is another one that I do have to work on. It's, again, not one of my personal strengths. So it's just a continual challenge, but nothing that can't continually be overcome and made progress on. And yes, Kelly, I can put up the websites. There you go.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
In regards to the IT programmer analysis or analyst, it seems like every time you think of IT, you think of computer programming or coding for computers.
Mhm.
How is IT programming analyst different from computer programming?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So, the name is a little bit deceptive. When you see programmer, you do think of a coder, someone who does computer coding, and I am not. I am not a developer of that sort. In that role, I was more of an one who did application configuration. So in my work in health information management and really with the evolution to being the one who saw the evolution from paper to the electronic world, I was really an EHR expert. So when they brought me on within the IT realm, I became one who partnered with our clinical teams and help them go through the approval process to make changes to the electronic health record to make it more user-friendly for them to optimize it. And in doing that, I wasn't writing code or doing that kind of development. I was doing configuration changes behind the scenes. Excuse me, trying to think of an example. If you were to go into a simple application like Outlook and change your settings to change the color, from white to black, I mean, that's a very simple example, but something like that, just making changes and also building templates for them. So there was a lot of structured clinical documentation that's pre-built for them to go in and either point and click and select different selections or integrating the voice recognition systems into it, those sorts of things. I will say with the structured clinical documentation, that was actually one of my first big wins. We were able, so the organization had challenges with Joint Commission compliance with post-op progress note documentation, specifically with, I want to say it was blood loss. And the problem was many times there is no blood loss, right? And so they just weren't putting anything. But to meet Joint Commission compliance, you have to say none. You have to enter something. So we went into the structured clinical documentation and built that in as a required field, so they couldn't not address it. And like as soon as it was implemented, we went from 20% compliance to 100% compliance. So, I mean, something as simple as that is like transformational.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Sure. I see a few more questions. Allison, I'm a certified RHIT for 3 years, interested in coding everywhere wants experience. How will I get the job? That is a valid challenge. I will say there are certain organizations that are easier to get into than others. So I had a student who within the last year got in at the VA So the VA did not require any experience. I have another one who is now a coder at Flagler Hospital. So another one where had no experience. Additionally, physicians' offices. So sometimes if you steer away from larger hospitals and try to start at a physician's office, you might have more luck. If you'd like to reach out, I'd be glad to talk more about that offline. And Allison, I'm an RHIT. Should I get the RHIA? That really depends on your goals. You know, if your goal is to be a coder, I would recommend you complement your RHIT with a coding credential. So maybe the CCS. If you want to go into coding management, then maybe an RHIA would be appropriate because that's more of a leadership credential. So would really depend on what your ultimate goals are. Good question. Any others? I appreciate the engagement. You never know if you're going to get questions at these.
I just want to say I appreciate you doing this. This is awesome, especially for me, who is your student, and am always wondering, you know, how did she know that? How does she do that? You know, that kind of stuff. So this is great for me to understand where you came from.
Yeah,
Really
sure
great.
thing. It's
Thank
been
you.
quite, yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for that. It's been quite the journey, but I have so enjoyed it. It's never been boring, ever. And opportunities have been endless. I've never been without an opportunity.
That's
So
awesome.
it's been a career that's been really good for me, which was why I wanted to go into education, to really raise awareness and kind of help the next generation, because it's such a good opportunity. I think that it's sort of the best kept secret in healthcare. Everyone thinks about being a nurse, you know, or a respiratory therapist or going to radiology, but for those who aren't interested in direct patient care, this is an amazing opportunity, and it actually, as far as allied health positions go, can be among the higher paying. So it's and so much flexibility. There's a lot of flexibility with it as far as teleworking and flexing schedules. It's a great field. So
Thank you.
Wendy says, do we need to email you to let you know we attended the Zoom to be exempt from the discussion? So Wendy, I do need your last name. So if you would just put your last name in the chat, I will, I'll be sure you get credit. And so I did talk about this probably before some joined, but I do need your full name. Thank you, Wendy. If you are one of my students and you are here to get credit for this week's discussion, please ensure that I have your full name either in the participant list or in the chat, and I'll be sure you get credit. Thank you, Wendy, for bringing that up. Oh, and I see Alfonso, thank you for entering that in the chat. Some places have coder trainee jobs, and he actually posted one at UF Health Jackson or Gainesville. That's perfect. Yeah. And Mayo Clinic used to do something similar, actually. So another recommendation I would have is to go out to the websites of healthcare organizations where you're interested in working. Many of them at their job sites, you can set up to receive customized automated job listings. So you'll receive an email every time there's a job posting for a job meets the criteria of what you're looking for. So those are really good to follow, even if you're not looking to apply right now, just to kind of stay informed around what qualifications they're looking for, so that you can make sure you're well positioned to when you're ready to apply for those roles. And let's see, Kathy, if are you putting your name in the chat for your CEU credit? For those who want CEU credit, email me. So I'll put that back up. For CEU credit, please send me an email. Yes, thank you. For those who are my students and simply want credit for this week's discussion post, I just need to make sure I have your last name. And most of you did log in with your last name, so thank you for that. All right, well, before we go, I do want to put a plug in for our Health IT Student Association. Those of you who are students, we are kicking off we've got a little bit of a late start this semester, but we are kicking off our first meeting coming up in October. I did send out the invite, should be on your calendar. I'll follow up with an email to make sure you have those dates, but this is one of the meetings that your HIT Student Association supports. So we do have the monthly HIT or the monthly opportunities and HIT sessions that we open up to the entire community to kind of raise awareness. We also have monthly day in a life sessions where SJR State HIT grads come back and kind of tell you what a day in their life is like now and answer your questions. And then we have just the monthly student association meetings where you guys plan all the great stuff you're going to do. So we have a couple of positions open right now, a couple of board positions. Great opportunity to go ahead and serve and start building your resume and network and get to know your classmates. So do join us for those sessions and get involved. Would encourage you to do that. All right, if there are no other questions, I want to thank everyone for joining.
Thank you, Dr. Banta.
Have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you.